everyone, Luke here and welcome back to the channel. So believe it or not, something that I find very interesting is light bulbs. So they're pretty much everywhere, they're in every single household, and without them, well, we'd probably be in the dark ages, only be able to see in the daytime, unless of course you eat a whole bunch of carrots, because everyone knows if you eat your carrots you can see in the dark. But the idea of this video is to go through the history of light bulbs, how it began, how it developed, and where we are now. Rightio, so let's crack on straight on with the history. So apparently in 1802, someone called Humphrey Davy, he was actually a British chemist, and he invented the first electric light. He was actually experimenting with electricity, and he even invented his own battery, and he used this battery and connected it to a piece of carbon. This actually glowed, producing light, and this is now known as the carbon arc lamp. Even though it produced light, it didn't last very long, and it was far too bright for any practical uses. And to me, this is actually the first step in the right direction. So in the next couple decades, of course, there was other inventors trying to chase that dream of the light bulb, but nothing really notable come from this for commercial use. And it wasn't until 1840 where someone named Warren de la Rue, he was a chemist and astronomer, and he actually managed to create a light bulb. And how he actually did this was he enclosed a coiled platinum filament into a vacuum tube and passed an electric current through it. So even though it was actually a quite efficient design, the cost of the platinum made it pretty much near enough impossible to be put into commercial production. And it wasn't until 1850 where something really happened. So in 1850, an English physicist named Joseph Wilson Swan, he actually managed to create the light bulb. And he actually did this by enclosing some carbonised paper filaments into an evacuated glass bulb. And believe it or not, by 1860, he actually had a working prototype. But there was a few problems. One of them was lack of vacuum. And the second one is he didn't have a very good supply of electricity. So this actually resulted in a bulb that, well, the lifetime of it was far too short, and it was considered, well, ineffective. However, in the 1870s, there was actually better vacuum pumps available, and Swan actually continued his experiments on the light bulbs. And to be fair, in 1878, he actually developed a long-lasting light bulb, and he actually used something a little bit different. It was treated cotton thread that also removed a big problem with these bulbs, and that was early bulb blackening. So during that period between Swan and Edison, there was actually a Canadian electrician and his colleague named Henry Woodward and Matthew Evans who actually built their lamps. And they used that original method using carbon rods and basically electrodes to get that glowing. But that actually deemed to be unsuccessful even when they tried to bring it to the commercial market, and eventually that patent actually got sold to Edison. In 1878, Thomas Edison actually began some serious research into developing a practical incandescent lamp, and on October 14th, 1878, Edison actually filed his first ever patent application for the improvement of electric lights. So during the period of 1878 and 1879, Edison actually continued his research and actually managed to improve his bulb by changing all the types of materials and the metal filaments. And by 1879, he actually filed for another US patent on the electric lamp using a carbon filament. Would you believe it? It wasn't until several months later, after the patent was granted, that Edison and his team actually discovered that carbonised bamboo filament could last over 1200 hours. Now, that's a long time. And that discovery of carbonised bamboo actually marked the beginning of commercially manufacturing light bulbs. So something that I thought was actually really interesting, and something that I didn't actually know, but that is fluorescent lamps actually predate filament lamps. So take a look at this. So, as you can see, the development of the fluorescent lamp actually started in 1856. And as you can see, it steadily develops throughout the decades all the way up until 1935, where it actually became commercially available, and that's when you start seeing them absolutely everywhere. And even to this day, these are still some of the most popular commercial bulbs that you can get because of their low cost, because of the easy installation, and because, well, they've been around for quite a while, it seems. But this actually led way to the LED boom of bulbs, and that's for a good few reasons. And the biggest reason is because these fluorescent lamps take a lot of volts to actually get working, and clearly that's going to be a big consumption. So of course you had to figure out different ways to actually make that lower, less amps, less voltage, and to still get a nice bright light out of it. And that's where LEDs actually started to come onto the market. And that pretty much brings us to where we are today, and I mean, I could go through the history of the LEDs, but I feel like that's definitely worth a whole video on its own because there's a lot of information to pass through, and it's good information, so make sure that you do keep an eye out for that. But I think there's one main reason that LEDs are the most used, and all I need to do is explain one figure, and that is, in 2012, more than 49 million LEDs were being used across the entirety of the US, and this resulted in a massive energy saving, somewhere in the region of around $675 million in 1 year. How crazy is that? And I think the main reason for that is because LEDs are nowhere near as power hungry as some other types of different bulbs. But with that being said, that does bring me to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them all. Anyway guys, I hope you have a fantastic day and I'll see you later.